Good morning, bienvenidos, and buenos dias from Puerto Rico. For those of you who were here during the last year's BRM Connect, thank you for visiting the beautiful island of Puerto Rico. I hope you all had a great experience down here. Just to officially introduce myself and give a little bit of background, my name is Crystal, and I am the Chief Information Officer for LUMA Energy, which is the only energy transmission and distribution utility here in Puerto Rico. We took over operations from the prior ecosystem in 2021. And since then, we've experienced two major hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires, political situations and circumstances, and no shortage of opportunities or problems to solve for between our technology stack, our grid. It's very aged due to lack of maintenance and proper investments in the actual infrastructure here. So LUMA has quite a bit of work ahead of us, right? But we have made tremendous strides from 2021 until today. I'm thrilled to share that I've spent the last 2 years on island working with a team of over 200 technologists and working to drive value for our partners, for the humans that we serve here in Puerto Rico, and for our customers, if you will, as business companions. It's not a small job, but every little bit of positive change really makes a huge difference to the stability and reliability of our grid. And that's really what we're primed and focused in on here lately. A bit about my weird career trajectory. I started as a signal intelligence specialist for the United States Army way back. I had my 18th birthday at basic training and did a wonderful tour in Iraq, 2003 to 2004. That really laid some foundational leadership and technology skill sets in my repertoire. And then I continued to move up in the private sector, speckled in there a little bit of government support as well, and then transitioned to my first kind of junior executive role as the director of IT for a national hospitality company. That was a fantastic growth opportunity for me. And then due to personal reasons, I left North Carolina and returned to my home state of California. I applied for a business relationship management role at the energy utility known as SMUD, or the Sacramento Municipal Utility District, based in Sacramento, California. That gave me an opportunity to be close with my family again, which I had not been close to my family since, again, like 16, 17 years old. And living back in my home state, I leveraged my background in leadership and technology and worked as a business relationship manager supporting operations, engineering, capital projects and investments, and then ultimately was promoted into a position where I took on the lead of innovation, emerging technology, and new business development. One of my favorite projects that I got to work on while I was at SMUD was helping to usher in a partnership between a long duration energy storage battery company and their service offerings and their technology, and bringing those long duration energy storage, the LDES, systems into the Sacramento ecosystem. And from there, being able to create a community of jobs and education and training, as well as better ways to centralize and interconnect distributed energy resources. So I've learned a heck of a lot in the utility and energy ecosystem in a very short 6-year industry trek. But I find that every experience from, military, private sector, government sector, and then now into a public-private partnership like LUMA Energy, it's all of that knowledge just cascades, right? And it builds off of it. And so you can take your experiences from one bucket to the next and just continue to grow and evolve. The last 2 years at LUMA has been nothing short of an evolution of leadership, skill sets, just knowledge about the chaos of the energy world as a whole, right? There's certainly a lot of flux going on right now, both in the federal government and in local Puerto Rican ecosystems. And LUMA is certainly a hot topic here in the media on the regular. It's a very interesting dynamic for sure. Now I'm kind of going to pivot into my journey as a BRM and focus in on why the BRM practice and methodologies have been so critical to my ability to reshape an IT, OT, and cyber department. Back in 2015, I was working for a Fortune 50 company. And at this institution, I was working as a project manager, senior technical project manager, delivery, adding value in that capacity. And then my CIO, forgive me, came to me and was just like, look, you've got the technical aptitude and the ability to drive, like from a tactics basis, you get that. But I also see that you have some awareness of the big picture and strategy. I want you to go through this boot camp, if you will, a couple, week training course, and I want you to get your business relationship management certification, my BRMP. And I was like, okay, I don't know anything about this institution. I don't know much about the business relationship management concept, but what I realized is I honed some of those principles of BRMing just through normal leadership and normal business relationships, right? It's foundational. Or I should say there are things that are foundational within the BRM practice that I was naturally applying. So I was thrilled that my CIO kind of recognized that and channeled me in the right direction. I got my certification and I transitioned from a senior PM into the first of this company's BRM roles. And I realized that there was a significant gap between a business opportunity and that ideation phase, kind of really getting to the point where you have an approved and funded project ready to go into execution, and partnering with my business stakeholders across the organization and understanding their needs, building up a relationship of trust by delivery, right? You don't just get the trust, you have to really show up and deliver and continue to add value. But having that experience really propelled me into a finer business acumen, understanding why businesses and individuals within different institutions or organizations are making the decisions or articulating certain pain points with a higher priority over the others, right? Until you understand it at a relationship or foundational level, it's super challenging to actually meet the needs of the business. So you've got to lay that relationship foundation and the framework there of trust and openness and the ability to deliver. So after my BRMP, I had moved to another institution, kind of got recruited out and continued on in like application portfolio management and whatnot. And then moving from one sector to another, but latching on to the BRM role, that was a fantastic opportunity where I saw a very successful BRM manager transform an organization because he saw, and this is John Aliotti if you're out there listening, but from SMUD, he saw the value of the BRM practice, and he was taking experienced BRMs and plugging them into mission critical support type element roles where we became less of an order taker organization and more of a strategic guiding partner to the rest of the institution. Learning from my prior leader and many other leaders at SMUD, we all sat down and took a team or a department certification for our CBRM. And when we all graduated, we were like, okay, we're awesome. Let's go solve more world problems, right? And I feel that the foundations of the institution and the certification practice that is well established has been instrumental into both my career growth and my leadership aptitude. As a CBRM, that kind of opened up higher levels of conversation and interactions throughout the organization at SMUD. And because of that, I was tapped on the shoulder to participate in the Western Energy Institute's Business Acumen for Emerging Leaders program. And when that education, it was an 18-month program, transpired, I was then introduced to LUMA. And so it's an interesting kind of trajectory of how BRM laid these foundations to move me through leadership and ultimately into an executive leadership role. Now that I'm here and I'm, helping this team navigate all of these interdepartmental complexities we have at our organization and siloed operations, right? The value of BRM was so evident and it was so lacking at this organization. It was one of the first departmental changes that I implemented. The first things first was I tried to identify some humans that exemplified a BRM, characters and values, and had already shown their trustworthiness by delivering on specific initiatives. I asked them, worked with HR and all this good stuff, and said, hey, I see a need for this role to sort of pivot and be formalized as a business relationship management role. Are you interested? I brought over maybe 2 or 3 humans and kind of crafted this hodgepodge, gaggle of humans that needed the foundations of BRM to continue their success. Ultimately, I justified the approval of a manager. We brought on additional BRMs, and then we reshuffled the entire organization, and we added another director level leader over operations, IT operations, and execution. And that human leads from the strategic side, from an ideation and BRM perspective, and also our IT PMO. And so that value chain from beginning to end, from ideation until project delivery and closeout, and then ultimately value realization, is end to end under one technology leader. And that's been monolithic. A couple of stats, like just so I can not toot my own horn, but celebrate the team's accomplishments here. We have easily saved over $20 million just by cost avoidance, by not going out and purchasing every random dream, wish, and bell that our business partners saw at a fancy conference, right? We focus on appropriate intake and prioritization with a lens of relentless prioritization, and making sure that there's a value threshold that we want to deliver in a period of time, so that we aren't just delivering technology for the sake of technology, right? But we're solving real human problems with technology. A couple of examples of projects that we are actively working on right now. So we are deploying advanced meter infrastructure, or smart meters, out to our 1.5 million customers. That's an active 3-year project that we are participating in and helping with those data integrations and system implementations. We also are in the process of supporting our legacy energy management solution, but replacing and updating to best-in-class industry standards technology solutions to kind of get us out of the Stone Ages for how we manage energy around this island. But it's not without our own challenges, right? So I've never quite worked at a company where every day it's a new, oh my gosh moment. Like literally every day there's another thing that is mission critical and needs solving for. 1 minute we're focused in on, aligning strategic value across the enterprise. The next is juggling the value to the budgets and significant budget constraints due to pick a problem. Like there's a million reasons why we have those types of budget considerations. Puerto Rico is in essence a bankrupt government ecosystem, and we are operating a critical service, energy and power, keeping the lights on, right? We are operating that under very tight confines. And if there is anybody out there listening from, the government sectors or the Puerto Rican ecosystem, I would highly focus in on partnership and collaboration. As we, LUMA Energy, we are a private partnership. And without the real partnership and collaboration, we won't be successful. Can I open it up to questions? Like, does anybody want to know how we stood up a BRM team, what our BRM team is composed of, and how we execute our value streams? Any questions?
I've got a couple questions or comments. One of them is, what has advancing BRM at LUMA accomplished? And then what in the last year, we believe that you did the BRMP training at LUMA. So what of those two questions do you find is a good point to dive into?
Sure. I'll start with the first question, Mariah, because I love that. So by establishing the BRM team and getting training and certifications, we've, again, saved easily over $20 million through the last fiscal year. And probably my number is even too low. I guarantee we've saved more than that by now. We've we've really honed in on strategic alignment on technology priorities across this organization. We focus on reliability, safety, taking care of our people, both customers and internal employees, and then cybersecurity, right? Those are, if we're not protecting what we have, we can throw in all the net new innovation we want, but if we're not really protecting the ecosystem here, that's our number one.
We have a hand raised, which I love. And so we're going to go with raised hands first. And then we've got some questions in the comments in the comment section. So I believe I'm looking through.
Max had his hand up first.
Max had his hand up. Yes. Okay.
Crystal, thank you very much for your presentation. I would like to ask you a question. When you established the BRM community in the company, what kind of strategy or tools did you guys use to document the relationships? I mean, the BRMs, they have documented the health of the relationship, their challenges, the actions that they need to take in place to get to be perceived like a strategic partner. This is the first part of the question. The second part is if you guys have done like surveys to get the feedback from the stakeholders, how they are perceived IT, what's kind of the strategy?
Yes.
This is my question. Thank you.
That is a fantastic, great questions. Our BRMs initially started with tell me all of your pain and opportunities, and then taking like intake requests, right? It was a deluge of, misaligned expectations at the beginning and trying to cut through what's really mission critical versus just a squeaky wheel, right? So at the beginning, there were maybe some dissenters of the concept of having that conduit of strategy, if you will, into the IT organization. They were so used to picking up the phone and getting whatever they wanted just by calling their favorite human, right? And so we changed this relationship paradigm where we're not just going to take in every single request. We will hear you, we will listen, we will analyze, and we will come back in partnership with you on recommendations, right? So foundationally, it was creating a backlog of work intake. And then from a relationship component, looking for the humans that maybe were never satisfied or maybe had super, super prickly relations within the IT/OT and cyber ecosystems. And with the relationship, business relationship on a page, I hope I'm using that term properly, but through that tool, we were actually able to document and then plan and mature the relationship, hopefully to a more positive state. But it takes very proactive engagement with the BRMs and their business partners, starting with openness and transparency, right? Look, I understand, I can empathize with your pain. However, I'm going to need X amount of money if you want us to even continue down this pipeline, right? Like we can dream up all the pain and opportunities humanly possible. But if we are not able to actually deliver and have all the appropriate scope and budget items lined up, well, we're just talking, right? We got to get to real tangible results. There was something else that you asked. You said surveys. And yes, we did a pulse check. So we've got a couple of different leading indicators that help us manage our relationships with the business. Number one is we maintain a CSAT score through our help desk and our support teams. So every ticket or request that comes into the world, we keep a pulse check there. But at the inception, we did, through the leadership team and the BRM ecosystem, they sent out a survey to their business partners and said, what's going on with IT? It's not just me as your BRM, but what's going on? What's your feedback for IT? And they took that and looked for the outliers, right, both good and bad, and tried to specifically target those individuals that had their pain points, and then both on the IT and business side work for better alignment. Because relationships are not a one-way street. It takes mutual compromise, mutual commitment, and collaboration to make it work. Otherwise, you're just talking to a wall.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Max. Baz, do you have a comment or a question?
Thank you. So, Crystal, lovely to hear the experience and the story. Thanks so much for sharing. You mentioned the $20 million figure, which was a fantastic figure, and it's exciting to hear that. It's really quantifiable. And, my question was, was that specific to BRM savings, or was that savings, from doing things differently? So we speak about relationship strategy in a page and, being more effective as technology. But I was wondering if you have a way of quantifying BRM. Like, this is the BRM team that we've paid for. We've built the BRM team. We've paid X amount of dollars for a leader that I've justified and for a team. And based on that expenditure, we've created this amount of revenue, a very specific around BRM. Do you have anything like that? It sounded like there was a bit of that thinking, but I wasn't sure if it was formalized.
No, but I think it would be a fantastic exercise and pretty quick for us to even do on the back of a napkin, because say, a fully loaded FTE is about, X amount of money a year, right? Within 1 year's time, we had a cost avoidance of $20 million. The ROI has already paid for itself.
Fantastic.
But I will say, while we track ideas through to completion, the quantity of ideas that come in, and we track the number of ideas that we say no to or not right now to. We track all of those specific details. And so I think there is an easy message that could be crafted or honed with real data to say, this is the value of these investments in training, investments in people, and making sure that they're continuing to evolve at the same clip that our business partners are.
Fantastic. And I think, to hear from a CIO saying that about the BRM team is inspiring. Thank you.
I appreciate it. And I'm going to take that as homework, and I'll Yanni and my team on Hill, they'll be like, oh, great, Crystal got homework from her own webinar, but I will happily take that aspect to the team and see if we can get you guys something really concrete, or at least what our formula would be to help articulate that particular value. Because, like a lot of companies right now, the pocketbooks are getting sealed and everybody's tightening up their belt loops. And something that might feel a little intangible at times, being able to articulate the value of the BRM community and the skills and the people, right? That's going to become even more critical.
Absolutely. Thanks, Crystal. That was great.
Brian.
All right.
Hi, Brian.
Hey, Crystal, how are you?
Good. Fantastic.
Good. So you brought it up briefly when you asked if people wanted to ask questions. It's a question I wanted to ask, and something I think I caught in one of your talks at BRM Connect. When you came in, I believe you mentioned there were somewhere around 13 value streams that you guys had, and I believe you guys went through a process where you slimmed that down. You made it much more effective and efficient. I guess, can you give us just a taste of what did it look like? How did you make the decision, and how did you get to the end goal?
Such a good question. Okay. And I didn't even throw that question to him and have him ask me like it was prompted, but that's a really good question. So our business historically was insanely siloed, almost draconian, department level leadership top down, right? And that was a big culture shift to go from individual departments driving everything independently to having a matrixed organization where it's not just top down, but it's top down, horizontal, and vertical, right? We have to work so collaboratively and cross-functionally here to really unearth the value of any initiative. Prime example, we started with this monolithic list of value streams. But when you look at the portfolio of technology work that we were delivering, it touched so many different business areas. We found the ability to slice the value streams a different way and partner, say, HR, but partner HR with customer communications, HR, financial services and support, or what have you, and slice the value streams just differently. Because most of the projects for technology platforms that we were delivering for one had downstream business implications and ramifications, business process changes, data integrations that touched and trickled through a similar streamlined ecosystem. And we have one of the most complicated technology stacks that I have ever seen when it comes to tech debt of just legacy solutions and solutions with doing the same business process, but 20 different solutions doing that business process, it's mind-boggling. And so understanding what problems still exist that the business needs to solve for, understanding all the interconnectedness across our organization and being able to say, this is a program with multiple projects that's driving particular value to a value stream. Here's everybody who's engaged, and they're all in lockstep, knowing what's going on, what systems are changing, and what the future really looks like. What else can I share with that? I think we're down to 6 or 7 value streams now, and we've shuffled them a few more times even, and just like kind of tweaking the humans that are impacted by each value stream. And we're getting to a point now where we've been in operations from a BRM perspective for long enough that we can start to see trends of how much value we've delivered to each business unit by value stream, by, cost reductions, automation, or just changing the way we operate. One of our biggest initiatives right now, we're calling the program Workforce X. Workforce X encompasses asset management, workforce management, and an emergency response and restoration efforts. In order for us to be able to respond to an outage timely, we need to know where our people are, what assets are available, what trucks are ready to roll or out for service. We need to be able to know the locations, geographically speaking. I don't know if you all have seen the terrain in Puerto Rico, but it's all not like San Juan, right? Like San Juan is flat. You get out of San Juan, you get towards the middle of the island, and you're looking at mogul mountains that are just crazy to pass, right? And we have transmission and distribution lines that go through all of these ecosystems to support more rural communities. So long story short, if we have a major situation or island-wide outages, we have to be able to deploy, dispatch, and respond to any outage or work request that comes through in a timely manner. And we're actually held to those KPIs and like SLAs to our regulatory bodies here. So we're embarking on this digitization of how work gets done at LUMA. And I've seen big initiatives like this fail miserably. I also will share that this program is literally red right now. So we are making some absolute changes to how and the methodology in which we are delivering this work. Historically, LUMA really focused in on waterfall delivery methodologies, right? But in any real great digital transformation or product development world, we've shifted into an agile methodology, right? That's not news for most people, but here, that was like, ooh, a big transformation, right? Big change. So this project and this program, one particular project, our workforce management ecosystem, we're leveraging the safe agile delivery principles, starting foundational with the BRM as like the prime intake, and then passing it over to like backlog refiners and the rest. But we're taking this initiative through the lens of value delivery, rapid value delivery, and then being able to deploy something that will take us from a pen and paper or Excel at best work order management platform to an enterprise workforce management solution. And we hope that we'll have plenty of time between now and the next major storm, but we are training not only for blue sky operations, but emergency response. And we've committed to an MVP ahead of the prime time of storm season this year, so that we can showcase the value of our investments on people, systems, and dollars, right? We've got to deliver for the business, and I know the BRMs are critical to the support of this solution.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any other hands up of anybody who wants to ask a question?
I see
Max,
another
did you have
Max.
another? Yeah. Okay, Max. Max number 2.
Yeah. First off, I would like to thank you, Crystal, for organizing such an informative session. My team and I had the opportunity to attend one of your sessions, actually in person, from U.S. Department of Treasury down at the Puerto Rico during the BRM conference. So
Awesome.
my question is very simple. You have touched based on it. I just wanted to ask it out in the open. So when you guys started the BRM function, what was the one most misunderstood role of the BRM was, and what did you do to overcome that?
Fantastic. That they are not your single point of contact for all things IT. Like, bare bones kind of the foundational, right? Well, they are absolutely a liaison to getting your problems solved, or your pain points addressed, and having that strategic alignment. They're not your break fix superheroes, right? We have a whole team of dedicated service and support professionals there for that. They're not just going to take what you ask for and magically deliver it, right? It's not just a ask in, response out. There's going to be dialogue, respectful discourse, compromise through what comes in, what gets prioritized, what gets force ranked, and what doesn't, and then what ultimately gets delivered. Because it's not just one individual stakeholder's needs that need to be met, it's the enterprise. It's the entire organization. And I think that initial rub, took some massaging, but through, positive relationship building and maturation, we were able to overcome a great deal of that.
Thank you.
All right. Any other hands? Let me.
I see Andrew.
Andrew. Yep.
Yeah, Crystal, first of all, thank you very much for this. It's been very eye-opening. We're very new to incorporating this, so it was great. To follow up on Max's question, I think it was Max, to focus on the operational teams of IT and explaining it to them what your role is, because that's where I'm spending a lot of my time explaining people. I'm not here to do your job better, critique you. I'm trying to tell you what the customer's feeling and seeing.
Oh my gosh. So that is another huge area that's taking some massaging on our end. Because let's be real, the BRMs are bringing more work. Okay, they're bringing more work to the technical humans who are hands behind the keyboard. But I think the difference between just more work or creating a backlog is to unearth the value and priorities of what the business needs, and really articulating that role and that function back to the technologist. They're actually there to make sure that we're working on the right things, not just all the things. And I think that's a helpful place to start if you might have some dissenters within your technology ranks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Crystal. So I also had the pleasure of witnessing your presentation at BRM Connect. Very, very wonderful. This is equally wonderful. One thing that really resonated with me is that, you're navigating not just trying to prove the value within your organization for the projects that you're aligning strategically for the business, but you're balancing the technical debt. So what I would like to get a bit of understanding on is, how do you navigate prioritizing the projects while you're also competing up against the organization's technical debt? Because I'm in the same boat.
Oh man. Okay, so this is going to go very where I see us going, and then I'll kind of back into it, if you will. So we are shifting to the safe, agile delivery methodologies right now. We are in this flux of changing how we work. And a key component of that is to understand where we spend our time. What's our resource allocations right now today? And do you guys know the quadrant theory? Okay, so I'm going to nerd out for just a second. Forgive me, Jennifer and all, but there's 4 buckets of real IT work. If you guys go back to ITIL fundamentals, right? You've got projects, you've got enhancements, you've got the break fix stuff, and then you've got patches and updates, right? Everything below, so if you've got projects, enhancements, break fix, and then support and patches, if you will, everything kind of below the horizontal axis here is important, but it's not where the value gets added back to the business, okay? What I see in my organization is that 60, 70, maybe even more % of a resource's time is spent below that watermark on the break fixes, the patches and support. Why? We have legacy systems, too many platforms, data everywhere. It's like data anarchy in this organization, okay? We have to remediate that technical debt by investing in our systems remediation plans, maturation of our cybersecurity posture, hardening and remediating our vulnerabilities to get us out of that 70, 80% down here function and shifting to be a true value delivery organization, which is focusing on the projects and enhancements. And we are riding that ship right now. So what we've done is literally we're putting an edict to our technical managers and the folks with their hands behind the keyboards to say, only X percentage of your time can go to the support, break, fix, unless if it is for these mission critical applications that literally keep the lights on, right? So we'll focus so much attention on support and maintenance right here, and we will work to sunset, remedy, legacy off, whatever we need to do with things that are not mission critical, as we then transform and spend more time and energy into the project delivery ecosystems, both on projects and enhancements of those critical systems we already own. But one hurdle that we have is a multitude of platforms and not clearly defined business processes, whether it's through finance or projects or procurement. We are not super clear on how the business rules apply. And so until we understand that and really can digest what the business does and have the handoffs between institutions or departments, any technology we throw their way or we work to develop with them still might miss the mark. So oftentimes when we say, what is the problem you're trying to solve? We look at reusing tech solutions that we already have for cost avoidance reasons and to not anymore overly complicate our ecosystem. We'll reuse what we have. We will buy industry or platform utility specific solutions to migrate to cloud-based. Generally speaking, we're definitely a cloud-first organization where it makes sense, but that way we can then also get out of the support and maintenance, right? Get out of that ecosystem. Let the people who know their tech platforms, let them be the support element. We'll work on harnessing value by adding additional business capabilities or cross-functional collaboration through those tools, especially from a data perspective. When you have multiple platforms and they all do a little bit of something different, understanding your data provenance and the data origin or source of truth can be like unscrambling a yarn ball. Yeah, I can't tell you how much of a hurdle that is for us. We have data everywhere, and it seems like every new storm or outage event that we might encounter, there's another little tool, bell, whiz, gizmo that was established, and now we've got a mission critical process sitting in SharePoint. And I'm like, why? Like, we got to stop doing those types of whack-a-mole problem solving and think more holistically to drive the enterprise's values and remediate that technical debt simultaneously. Jennifer, did I get anywhere close to a good answer for you?
So Crystal, absolutely. And I think, it is kind of, you want to paint the vision of where you want to go and also accept the reality of where we're at. So I think I'm, in a very similar boat, and we'll get there, patience, right? One thing at a time.
See. And really, we are building the plane while flying it here. Our legacy EMS platform I mentioned is like 20 something, 30 years old. And it has its ball of risk and technical debt in and of itself, but we need it still functioning up until probably December of this year when we do a final migration and cutover to our net new EMS platform. But I can't tell you the risk associated with that project. I mean, we mess that up, the island goes dark, right? And so we have to maintain this present state legacy ecosystem while also building what comes next. And it's not simple, for sure. It's not simple.
Okay, and thank you. Any more hands? All right, then I'm going to go to the chat. I apologize for mispronouncing the name. Faigu asks, how do you convince business partners to move from COTS to tangible working solutions?
Oh, I think it comes back, I'll harp on value, but if you have applications that are inside of your ecosystem that were custom developed or right off the shelf, there is a cost avoidance factor to be able to say, hey, I built this. It didn't cost much to build, but there's cyber risk in that. There's the complications and difficulty in patching and managing something that's custom. We have a history of having humans, very smart and capable humans outside of the IT, OT governance, develop and deploy and put into production tools and solutions trying to solve a business problem. The issue is they don't keep up with the security standards that a critical infrastructure organization might have. They probably leverage open source products and things of that nature, and they expose a critical infrastructure entity to unnecessary risk, right? And so we have an approved tech stack. We have an approved, encryption standards that we must adhere to. If we're going to the cloud, we're looking for SOC 2, Type 2, FedRAMP ecosystems, or at the very least, a government tenant, right? So we have standards that we try to adhere to limit the risk to the organization. And if we are doing custom software development, especially outside of IT/OT, there might not be immediate cost, or it might appear to be more cost advantageous early on, but the support and risk situations down the road are just too far grand.
Okay, thank you. Trying to get to all the questions. We got about 10 minutes. So are there any more hands? Okay, so with that, I'm going back to the chat. As a CIO, what advice would you give to someone who is approaching their own C-suite leadership about BRM? Is there an elevator pitch that you could suggest to get buy-in from their CIO?
Yes. Okay, let me think of how to wordsmith this appropriately. I would start with the CIO and the other executives' perception of IT. Use that as like a starting or a launch point for, number one, the conversation, and then the problem that the BRM function or teams or roles might solve for. And I would hearken that there's value leakage or loss through the observations that you've seen, where how we are delivering or how we are executing on projects wasn't really solving the crux of the problem, right? We're only plugging holes if we don't take a strategic and enterprise view of the problems we're solving. If you look across our value streams now, we keep hearing that we need to engage with our customer and have a track and traceable log of how we're interacting with different entities, government, municipalities, critical customers, and the like. And so we heard this from regulatory, we heard it from corporate communications, we heard it from our CX ecosystem. So if you take these pain points and you bring them together in a room and you say, hey, we've got 5 different business units and stakeholders that are saying this is a problem that they have. Now we know we need to invest in an enterprise solution to meet those needs and not just a little tiny Band-Aid over those problems. And because of that exact scenario, we were able to invest in Microsoft CRM or Microsoft Dynamics from a CRM perspective to make sure that we're meeting the business demand in that department or across all departments, because it wasn't just one area that needed that or had the same pain. It usually is much further reaching.
Thank you. I've got Nicole putting little arrow emojis up to her question, so I'm going to get to her question. It was second. How do you incorporate the BRM team in road mapping activities? What are ways you recommend to take the BRM role from tactical to strategic?
Great question. I think the BRMs need to be facilitating the road mapping conversations with their business. Workshops are fantastic ways where you can talk about a particular problem or opportunity and just ideate and spitball and whiteboard. And then, instead of saying implement X solution, your idea really starts with the problem statement. And then you try to paint what the done of that resolution might be. What does that end game really, really look like? I think that's a fantastic opportunity for the BRMs to showcase both their technical chops and their business acumen, right? To bridge the gap there. Let's see, what else have we done we host quarterly business technology roadmap review meetings. So we bring, big projects, big programs, we highlight the successes, we celebrate our wins, we do, hey, we didn't quite deliver right on this end and we refine, but then we also showcase our roadmaps. So each value stream and their BRMs get up and talk about their projects and initiatives in partnership with, like, holding hands with their business partner and their sponsor. It's a co-authored presentation and a co-pitched presentation, because this is not IT coming up with things for the business. This is a partnership between the business and the BRMs and technology coming together. So they co-conspire, if you will, to deliver the message to the business. And it's been very well received.
Okay, thank you. We have hands now. We've got about 5 minutes. John Henry?
Jean Harry, thank you.
Harry, sorry.
Yep, nope, you're fine. My question was, I guess it's a little further back. It's more, what would you advise a new BRM to, I guess, roadmap to learning to be an efficient BRM that can be utilized to help a company grow and develop?
Can you try to restate that question for me one more time?
Like what's a good, I guess, educational avenue for a new BRM to be better and improve their, I guess, talents or skills?
So aside from the formal certifications and training through your BRM Institute, I would also say the Street of Hard Knocks has been a pretty good educational platform for me. And what I mean by that is, understand the concepts of BRMing, understand the framework and the foundations, but get out there and fail quickly, learn what works, what doesn't work, and then adjust, right? Adjust fire, as we say in the Army. Adjust. If you're not hitting your target, you don't necessarily all the time throw away the target or the weapon. You adjust your body position and how you're positioning yourself, right? So try things, experiment with, meeting your business partners, getting out in the field, going on road shows with your business that, might not just sit behind a keyboard, and understand how they actually work. Our team was fortunate enough to go out into the field for some of our pole replacement activities and watch the field crews working on the lines and replacing poles, get that firsthand experience. They're like, geez, they need better tech to do X, Y, and Z. The manually doing time cards, right? Things like that. It's see how your business partners actually work, and then be a guiding light for them to make life better.
Thank you. I should have asked you if you had time to stay after for questions. Max
Yeah,
has
sure.
his hand up again. All right.
Last question.
That's awesome. Thank you. So we'll just keep going. Anybody that has to drop off, we will have this recording out in about a week, and then I'm gonna gather the questions from the chat that we didn't get. So throw your questions in there, and then I'm gonna give Crystal homework.
Thanks.
And so I saw Max, you had a question.
Crystal, you're in a position of CIO. Can you summarize 3 main behaviors that the BRMs must have to succeed in their roles?
3 behaviors a BRM must have to be successful in their roles: entrepreneurialism, full loop communication, closed loop communication, and the ability to articulate both technical concepts into business language, right? You start talking packet loss or, I don't know, gigabytes of data and things, the business is just going to glaze over and be like, yeah, I just want this to work. Can you please just make this work? They don't necessarily care about all the sausage making happening behind the scenes, but you need to articulate. A BRM should be able to articulate the complexities of a project or initiative and break that down into snackable nuggets of information so that the business can really understand what we're embarking on, what we're encountering. For example, the Workforce X project or program, it's a monolithic business process change as much as it is a complete digitization of how work is taking place, right? And using the right vernacular and terminology and words so that the business understands we're not just pressing a button and it's like magic bananas, everything works. No, this is going to be an iterative, fail fast process that we need to just start, right? We need to take action.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
go into chat for questions. We'll try to get through them pretty quick, but so thank you for staying on. Keith Sutherland asks, you mentioned the importance of cyber and reliability at LUMA, along with BRM and other framework methods or standard, along with BRM, what other frameworks, methods, or standards are adopted and integrated?
Okay, so we definitely follow ITIL governance and framework from just a good foundational IT perspective, right? And we're maturing that day in and day out. We also do follow the NIST cybersecurity framework and like ISO controls from a critical infrastructure perspective. We in Puerto Rico are not beholden to NERC or FERC standards from energy, like the federal government world. We're still this, we don't really know where we belong ecosystem, right? We're Puerto Rico, we're very unique. But what I will say is that we aspire every day to meet NERC and FERC standards, because someday maybe we'll be beholden to that. And that's also obviously kind of the industry de facto. We have matured over 113, more than that. Carlos, my cybersecurity lead will probably be like, no, it's way more than that. But we started with like a negative deficit of a cybersecurity posture in 2021. And since then, we've matured that over 113%. And that's, attributed all to my cyber and technical humans who are working tirelessly to remediate our system's vulnerabilities. But it's as AI continues to evolve, as the bad guys continue to view the United States and its territories as a target, right? The cybersecurity ecosystem is ever evolving, and we have to be ever evolving too.
Thank you.
I don't know if you all saw the news article today, but there's a major cybersecurity program that has been defunded by the federal government, and that is a vulnerabilities, risks, and kind of issues sharing consortium program between the FBI, CISA, and other public-private entities. I got to tell you, our critical infrastructure could be jeopardized because of lack of information sharing. And so, I don't know, read the news today. Fascinating.
I think Megan asks a very common question. How do you differentiate yourself from a project manager? And do you ever run into issues with someone just not wanting to change? And how do you handle the situation?
The beatings will continue until morale improves. We can stick with that one for a bit. There are folks that are so adverse to change, whether or not the change is for the better or for not. And I like to go where the energy is good. So the people who are willing partners, right? That's where they get the most attention, right? If you're willing to come to the table and work with us rather than us chasing you around, it goes way smoother, right? We have phenomenal partnerships with 99.9% of the department or not the department, but the ecosystem. And the few outliers or dissenters of the process that are out there, I think it maybe comes from a place of ego and or just lack of understanding. And so managing to those dissenting relationships just becomes more important. But I encourage the team that, we can disagree on approach as long as the end result and the impacts that we make are for the better, right? But there's many ways to get there.
Okay, thank you. Rima, where does BRM role sit in IT or business or its separate team? I think it's different in every organization. Where does your BRM team sit?
Fantastic. So the BRMs report up through me, but I have a director of IT operations and strategy and execution. And there's a specific manager that has a team of BRMs, so reporting up through the IT organization. What we've also done is, thanks to Angel, our fantastic BRM lead, he created a role called a DIO. So, or a DIO and then also a BIR. And I'm going to get this all mixed up. Probably my team will laugh at me. But we have the BRM. Yeah, Angel is great. We have a BRM. We have a DIO, which is the Digital Information Officer. And then we have a BIR, which is the Business Information Representative. okay? So that little trifecta of humans comes together in a monthly cadence to talk about roadmap, adds, changes, pivots, reprioritizations, and all of that. And we call that process a 3 in the box group. And they get together and they beat up all the ideas and see what's going to really pivot or course correct on the roadmap based off of resource availabilities, funding. You pick a problem, right? We just restack and retether. That team has a business component, an IT component, and then the BRM acting as mediator, moderator, and ultimate strategist connecting the dots. So it's what could we do from the business? What can we do from IT? And how do we structure it in a packageable manner to get approval and then ultimately funding to execute on a project?
Let me react to this, because here in Nestle, we also do have like a different role. We do have the BRMs, and we also have the FRMs, which are the functional relationship managers. So they work with the business partner at more operational level, open the doors, capturing the idea, supporting the new business, and then we have the BRMs, and we are connected with all the organization. So this is how we operate here.
I think that's such a similar model. Do you have the same kind of liaison in IT specifically that is a technologist? Or do you treat them like as architects maybe? Okay.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. It's nice to know that we didn't just magically create some weird thing. It's nice to see that other people do something similar.
Yeah.
A quick question from Nikki. How many BRMs does LUMA have?
I think we have 6 plus a manager.
All right, now it's the Crystal Fan Club. Okay, it was crystal clear delivery of this fantastic Crystal presentation. Okay, now I'm just going to try to get to the questions. Someone asked, okay, do you have a document of your team structure and how they interact? This is Jennifer. Side note, she would just love to sit and learn from your team for a week. So she's coming to visit.
Heck yeah.
Okay, so do you have a document of your team structure and how to interact?
So yes, we do have how our org is structured. We also have a clearly defined RACI that breaks down the role of the BRM, the role of project manager, the role of the DIO, BIR, and all of this, because we wanted to be crystal clear in how we rolled this out. And it certainly wasn't perfect when we started, but we have made leaps and bounds in how we function and operate.
Hashtag Crystal Fan Club. Okay, my question, so from Sam, my question is, as a CIO, how do you get business buy-in to move from legacy systems to more advanced technology platforms? Because when we talk about digitization, automation, or AI, business users and customers often panic.
Okay, so I'm also in the panic mode when it comes to bringing AI into my ecosystem, okay? I see such great value in automation, AI, machine learning, all of this, right? But if we don't trust our data as it sits right now today, throwing AI or machine learning into this raw data stack that we don't quite understand ourselves, I would be hesitant to trust the results that come from it. Prime example, if we're looking at energy balancing across our grid and moving electrons from point A to point B, but I don't understand or haven't documented every single asset inside of my connectivity model, I don't know if something is up, energized, down, or sideways, right? And that becomes a problem. So if you can't trust what's there or have a full understanding of what's inside of your tech stack, throwing new technology can be a challenge. But we are doing very deliberate pilot projects of AI to introduce it in back office productivity, kind of beat up the cybersecurity element, the data elements and things. I got to tell you, if you guys are not paying attention to data provenance, regulations, or governance, I recommend you take some time and digest what it's really meaning. It's not just validating that the data itself is true, but where is the source and the origin of that data? And is that source trustworthy, right? I don't know if you guys remember, sometimes rumors are really, really like toxic or bad and they're weird. And somebody will like drop a nugget of a rumor, but it becomes like pop culture norm. Like you just know that that's a thing and it's real. But in reality, maybe it wasn't because the source of that information wasn't legitimate at all. And so data provenance, understanding the origin of your data is going to become mission critical. What was the system of truth? What was the source of the true data? And then are the calculations and the algorithms actually compiling something that's real?
All right. Thank you. Thank you. I think we're going to let this wrap up.
Okay.
As I stated, I am going to go through the chat and see any questions that we may have missed. Thank you, Crystal. We so appreciate that you take the time to share with the BRM community. They obviously are very, very appreciative of your knowledge and your experience. And we thank you for the time that you take. Right back at you.
Awesome. Thanks, you all.
Look at it. And you should go back and read the chats because quite popular here.
And Crystal,
Thanks you all very
how can
much.
BRMs continue to learn from you after this webinar?
I love that question, Tom. First off, I'm all over LinkedIn. If you want to reach out, Crystal Allen, CIO, I pop right up. I'm the one with a crazy skydiving like banner. You'll not miss me. And then I'm happy to schedule conversations, bring in my BRM team, roundtable, spitball, whiteboard, whatever would help you and your organization succeed. Even if you want to yank your CEO, CIO into a conversation with me, I can try to help articulate the value of having teams and humans with this skill set and capabilities. It's been transformational for me in my own personal career journey, but I'm watching a team of technical humans evolve their leadership styles and their relationship management practices. And it's really honorable to see that transition.
Thank you, because that was another question. Would you be willing to talk to my CIO? So,
Heck yeah,
you know,
yes, I would welcome that. I would welcome
Okay.
that, hands down. And it's always good to network with other CIOs and see what they're up against.
All right. Thank you so much. Enjoy your
Thanks.
weekend, and thank you for spending this this time with the BRM community. We appreciate it. We appreciate you, and they appreciate you so much.
Yes. Thank you, Crystal.
Fantastic team.
Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you all very much. And enjoy your weekend ahead.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
You too. Bye, team. Ciao, ciao.